The banana on your counter was cut down while it was still hard and green, kept asleep in the cold for weeks across an ocean, and only woken up on purpose a few days before you bought it. It's the cheapest fresh fruit in the store. You probably tossed it in the cart without a second thought. But that ordinary yellow banana is one of the most carefully engineered journeys in your entire kitchen. Because a banana can't be shipped ripe. Picked yellow and soft, it would be a bruised mush long before it reached you. So the whole system is built around one trick. Move the fruit while it's asleep and wake it up only at the very end, right on schedule. So let's follow it. From your fruit bowl, all the way back to a tropical farm and forward again on the map. By the end, you'll never look at a banana the same way again. Start at the beginning, in a place that looks nothing like your kitchen. Bananas only grow in a warm, wet band of the world near the equator, where it never really gets cold. Most of the ones you eat come from a handful of tropical regions in Latin America and Southeast Asia, where the climate stays hot and humid all year. This is the banana belt, and outside of it, the fruit won't grow at scale. And here's the first surprise. The banana plant isn't a tree, it's actually a giant herb. And that tall green trunk is really a tight bundle of leaves. The fruit grows in one huge hanging stalk, made of clusters we call hands, and each banana on a hand is called a finger. There's a second surprise hiding in that field. Almost every banana sold for export is the exact same variety, called the Cavendish. Not a similar banana, the same one, grown from plants that are essentially clones of each other. And that sameness is why the system works. Because every banana ripens at the same rate and travels the same way, the entire chain, every box, every ship, every ripening room can be tuned to one predictable fruit. So picture endless rows of identical plants in the tropical heat, each carrying one heavy green stalk, not yet yellow, not yet food you'd want to eat. The journey to your kitchen begins the moment someone decides that stalk is ready to cut. Now, the strangest decision in the whole story, they cut it down green, not almost ripe, hard, green, and heavy, weeks before anyone could eat it. And they do it on purpose, because a banana keeps changing long after it leaves the plant. Left to ripen in the field, it would turn soft and yellow right there, then bruise and rot within days, far too fast to survive a journey across an ocean. Green and firm is exactly the state it needs to travel. So workers move through the rows and cut each heavy stalk by hand, often hanging it from an overhead cable line that runs through the plantation like a conveyor. The stalks reach a packing station right there on the farm, where the hands are cut from the stem, washed to clean and cool them, checked for damage, and packed into the sturdy boxes you've seen stacked at the store. And the instant that green banana is cut, a clock starts ticking. It's now a living thing on a countdown, slowly breathing, slowly trying to ripen. The whole rest of the journey is a race against that clock and a fight to slow it down. The cold, the ship, the sealed rooms, all of it exists to keep this green fruit asleep just long enough to reach you. This is where the map really opens up, because now the boxes have to cross an ocean and stay asleep the entire way. The green bananas are trucked to a port and loaded, not into an ordinary shipping container, but into a refrigerated one, known in the trade as a reefer. Some travel on specialized banana ships that are essentially giant floating refrigerators. Either way, the fruit is chilled and held in a narrow, carefully controlled band of cold. And this is the heart of the system. A banana is what scientists call a climacteric fruit, which means it keeps ripening after it's picked, and it does that faster when it's warm. Cool it down, and you slow its breathing almost to a stop. You press pause on the ripening. So for 1 to 2 weeks at sea, the fruit sits in the cold, barely changing, effectively hibernating, while the ship carries it thousands of miles toward you. But the cold is a tightrope, not a switch. Keep bananas colder than they can tolerate, and you don't preserve them, you injure them. Their skins turn dull and gray, and the ripening breaks. So the containers hold a temperature just cool enough to pause the fruit, but never cold enough to hurt it. A single narrow window held steady for the whole crossing. This is what people mean by the cold chain, an unbroken thread of controlled cold that follows the fruit from the farm, onto the truck, into the ship, and all the way to the far port, never once letting it warm up and wake early. Break that chain for too long, and the whole shipment could ripen at sea and arrive as waste. The ship arrives, and now comes the moment the whole journey was built around. They wake the banana up. The still green boxes are unloaded and taken to a ripening facility full of sealed rooms. And these rooms are the secret behind why the bananas at your store all seem to arrive at just the right yellow, at just the right time. Because ripening a banana on schedule isn't luck. It's triggered deliberately with a gas. That gas is ethylene. It's completely natural, the very same signal a fruit uses to tell itself it's time to ripen. In the room, the fruit is warmed back up and given a controlled dose of ethylene, and that's the wake-up call. The pause is over. The banana, held green for weeks, finally begins to turn. And it's watched like a recipe. The room controls the temperature, the humidity, and the air, and the fruit is tracked against a standard color scale that runs from fully green to the bright yellow you'd pick up. Over a few days, the ripeners nudge the whole room along that scale, so an entire shipment turns together, on demand. A store that needs green-tipped bananas on Monday and golden ones on Friday can order the exact stage it wants. So the yellow banana isn't a fruit that happened to ripen at the right moment. It's a fruit that was paused for a journey, then woken on a schedule, by people whose entire job is to decide, almost to the day, when it turns. Now only the short final stretch is left. From the ripening room to your hand. Freshly woken and turning yellow, the bananas are loaded, still cool, into refrigerated trucks and carried to a regional distribution center, a giant cold warehouse that feeds all the local stores. The cold chain still hasn't broken. Even here, the fruit is kept cool and moving because the clock paused at sea is now deliberately running again. From that warehouse, timed deliveries fan out to grocery stores, calculated so the fruit lands on the shelf at exactly the ripeness shoppers want. Not too green to sell, not so ripe it spoils before anyone buys it. A store might get a delivery every day or two, each batch timed to replace the last just as it reaches its peak. And then it's simply set out under the lights, in the one part of the whole journey you actually see. A pile of yellow bananas, looking effortless, looking cheap, looking like they just showed up. You grab a bunch, barely thinking about it, and carry them the last few steps of a trip that began thousands of miles away in the tropical heat on a plant that isn't even a tree. So here's the whole journey, lit end to end. It began in a hot, wet band near the equator, on a giant herb carrying one heavy green stalk of a single clone variety. The fruit was cut down hard and green on purpose, washed and boxed, and a countdown started. It was chilled into hibernation and carried across an ocean in a refrigerated ship, held for weeks in a narrow window of cold. At the far port, it was woken deliberately in a sealed room with a puff of ethylene gas and ripened on a schedule from green to gold. Then it rode the cold chain one last time, through a warehouse and out to the shelf, timed to reach you at exactly the right yellow. Thousands of miles, weeks of travel, a fruit paused, shipped, and woken on command. All of it hidden behind the cheapest, most ordinary thing in the produce aisle. That's the pattern behind almost everything on your plate. The banana looks simple. The journey is anything but. Next time you grab a banana without thinking, remember, it traveled the world asleep and someone woke it just for you. This is Veyor, where we trace how the modern world actually reaches you. Next, what actually happens in the 2 seconds when you tap your card. The invisible journey of your money from your fingertip to the store's bank and back, traced on the map. If you want to follow that one with us, subscribe, and I'll see you there.